Time for another Scene Defender. This time we're going to the episode It's About Time, and the scene in question is the one at the end of the episode in which future Twilight goes back in time to warn past Twilight about worrying about the future. Now the problem with this scene is that future Twilight shouldn't have gone back just to say exactly the same thing future Twilight told her the first time around. If future Twilight wanted to make sure past Twilight didn't spend the next week freaking out about the future, then future Twilight should have just shut past Twilight up and told her exactly what she wanted to say, right? Well, to that, I offer up a very simple explanation. Twilight Sparkle is a massive nerd. She's constantly reading and has been known to go on huge reading binges for the sake of research and sometimes just for fun. And presumably some of those books would be of the science fiction variety, perhaps some H.G. Wells or Isaac Asimov. And if that's the case, then she'd know the first rule of time travel. Do not screw around with the past under any circumstances. Bad things happen to those who do. If future Twilight would have gone back in time and told past Twilight not to worry about the future, past Twilight would have done just that. But then, past Twilight would not have freaked out about the future to the point where traveling back in time to fix it would cross her mind. Future Twilight wouldn't have needed to go back in time to warn past Twilight about the future. Future Twilight would never have sent the message to past Twilight. Bam! Time paradox. What would happen because of the paradox? I don't know. Black holes, space-time rifts, G3.5? Who knows? All I know is time paradoxes have never resulted in anything good. Besides, why would future Twilight care if past Twilight spent the next week freaking out about the future? In the words of Pinkie Pie, it's past Twilight's problem now. Future Twilight has already made it through all of the problems of the past week relatively unscathed, and she even learned a lesson through it all. Why would future Twilight go back in time and retroactively negate all of that, just so she could go back to her old neurotic self? She decided that the present she was currently in was better than the past where she was freaking out at 3 in the morning and forgetting to celebrate Arbor Day. However, that does leave the question, why didn't she tell Pinkie and Spike about her plan to keep the time paradox from happening, instead of telling them that she was going to tell past Twilight not to worry about the future? Simple. Would you like to explain the intricacies of time travel to a child and a nutcase? Yeah, I wouldn't either. Although it is worth noting the implications of future Twilight traveling back in time. By going back in time and maintaining the past, future Twilight inadvertently created an infinite loop. Future Twilight would travel back to the past to try and warn past Twilight about not worrying about the future, and fail. Past Twilight would spend the next week trying to prevent the catastrophe that's never coming. After she'd realized that there never was a catastrophe, she'd travel back to the past to try to warn past Twilight about not worrying about the future, and the loop starts all over again. But after future Twilight tries and fails to warn past Twilight about the future, future Twilight goes back to her own time and continues on with her own life. This tells me that every time the loop completes, an alternate timeline is created where future Twilight learns her lesson and moves on. Okay, this has gotten a lot more convoluted than I would have liked. You ever play Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask? It's basically like the ending of Ocarina of Time and the entirety of Majora's Mask, only on infinite loop. Okay? Okay. See y'all later.